Thank you, Vincent. Well, prohibition does not work. Now we're moving on to our last speaker. Before I introduce him, I just want to let you know that when we're all done here, we're going to head down the street to door 51. If anybody doesn't know where it is, it's between door 50 and door 52. Thank you. Oh, it's a bar just down here. You can't miss it on the right. We're going to have some drinks and some fun. Unfortunately, we can't smoke any cannabis. Oh yes, there's going to be a raffle for a portable vaporizer. It's called an Iolite. It's made in Ireland. Vaporizers are the healthy way to consume cannabis because you're not burning it. You're releasing vapors like with THC in it to get you the desired effect. So smoking can be harmful, just be aware of that. Vaporizing is not. Now I would have the great pleasure introducing our next guest speaker. We hadn't expected him, and he's very welcome. We're very surprised and honoured to have him here. I'd like to introduce Ming Flanagin, TD.
Smart for the hell out. All I can say is, how the hell do you follow that last speech? That man used logic, he used passion, and I'm telling you, those 10 people were actually transformed because of your ability to speak and your ability to put together logic. But you did have one thing on your side. You had one hell of a good argument in your favour, and that does help. Definitely. Well done. Brilliant. Things can change. I come from a County Roscommon, that at the last divorce referendum conclusively voted against the right for people to get divorced. On February the 25th this year, the same people gave me 9,000 first preference votes. And this man was talking about lawmakers. Well, they made me a lawmaker. What this man, sorry, I didn't catch your name, apologies. What Vincent said earlier there about how you can actually convince people is so true. It really is. I went to what would be considered the most conservative constituency, bar Donegal South, in this country, and I told them the truth, and they accepted the truth, and they went along with it, and they voted for me, and they put me in the Dáil. It proves something. It proves that politicians need not be scared of this subject. If they explain it to people correctly, the people will understand, and the people will vote for them. This year, there's some debate going on in the health service as to whether we can afford €7 million to vaccinate young girls against cervical cancer because there isn't enough money around. This year, scumbags are going to have access to a market of €600 million in this country, and that could be put in the legitimate tax economy, and things like cervical cancer vaccines and many other things can actually be put back on the table for Irish people. Things like special needs assistance, people like traveller assistance in the classroom, things like recreational facilities, and we can actually get this country moving, not completely and utterly from revenues from cannabis, but it'd make one hell of a good start given that we're that broke. When the Misuse of Drugs Act was brought in here in the 70s, the idea behind it was, well, if it was going to be a success, was that drugs would become less accessible and cannabis would become less accessible. It also, apparently, the aim of it was that people would be less likely to take them and that the price would be driven up and no one would be able to afford them. Well, the reality is, 30 years nearly later, it has been proven without doubt that they are attempting to enforce the unenforceable. It has not worked, it will not work, and it never will work, because the simple fact is, it is now easier than ever to get it. In many places it is as cheap as it ever was. And the only thing that The only thing that could have changed between now and the 70s is that we could have had billions in the legitimate taxed economy. People like Veronica Guerin would still be alive, and we wouldn't have as many heroin problems in this country. Anyone who believes that legalizing cannabis would lead to more people using hard drugs should listen to the facts from Holland. According to the Trimbos Institute, a psychiatric think tank in the Netherlands or in Holland, an organisation that carries out a survey of 5,000 people every 6 years. According to their survey, Dutch teenagers, less than 1 in 1,000 of them experiment with heroin in a country where you can openly buy cannabis. The figure for Ireland is 1 in 60. So if you are a concerned parent out there and you want to make sure that your child is 90% less likely to try heroin, legalize cannabis now! Some people say that cannabis makes you apathetic. The only thing that cannabis ever made me apathetic to is bullshit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meg. And thank you to everybody who helped out today and everybody who showed